white woman working at a Cinnabon kiosk, and some anti-white blacks, specifically anti-white Somalis, approach the kiosk, and they, according to what's being shared, I don't have inside information, I haven't seen other video, but according to what's being shared, these anti-whites began criticizing her for not wearing a hijab and not dressing as Muslims would like to see women dress. And of course, we've seen Grace was spat on by these anti-white animals at a grocery store. We see how they treat our women when they're not abiding by, and of course, it's not every single one, but we see how the anti-white ones behave. They disparage, attack, malign, vilify, intimidate. And so to some degree, something like this is said to have been happening, and it's completely believable with all of the other stories of anti-whites of this variety and their behavior toward white people, specifically toward white females. I read something about sexual harassment. Maybe I didn't hear anything specific about a sexual, maybe you can tag me and fill me in. And this was an absolutely Herculean victory because she called them anti-white. No, that didn't happen. Unfortunately, no. This is the internet. And so whatever cracks up the beer-swilling scumbags is what's going to be promulgated across the whatever gets the 85 IQ white people chuckling and chortling and choking on their low-priced beer and cheap vodka, whatever that is, that's going to be spread all over the internet. It's also, of course, harmful to the white race. It does not serve our well-being what ends up happening. Now, generally speaking, I want white females and white males, obviously, to be safe and financially secure. And the first thing we argue here in service to white well-being is that our advocates need to take care of themselves and their foundation. And are they able to meet their bills? Do they have health insurance? Are you able to be a success in your life? Are you happy in your life? That's the first thing you have to do for white well-being, is address that. So it always has to be in your mind. This argument that you hear from other circles, that you need to be sacrificing, you need to be going to jail, that's the only way you're doing something, you need to be getting fired, that's the only way you're doing something of value, is absolutely wrong. That is of no value. That's of no service to white well-being, which must begin with actual white people, white individuals. Are their lives being improved? Are they accessing more of their mental, physical, and spiritual potential as a consequence of what you recommended they engage in? That's not what happens in these anti-non-white circles. They want to see white people immolate themselves, self-immolation. They want to see white people ruin their lives so that they can have an argument that serves their anti-non-white sentiments. Look at another person over here. Their whole life is gone. They don't give a shit about these people and their lives being ruined. So these anti-white pieces of shit, pardon the French, it doesn't sound as lovely as that young female with singing with the piano. Her French was much more lovely than mine. But the anti-whites go up to this kiosk, and believable, even though it's not on video, that they harassed her in some way because she wasn't covered up from head to toe in a Glad trash bag. So fuck them for that. And then Crystal makes the wrong decision on how to respond. Well, what would be the right decision? We know here what would be the right decision. But even before you get to that point, she's an employee. She presumably wants to keep her job. There's no way you're going to be able to shout at a customer, even not using any racial slurs. If you just said, fuck you, scumbag, get the fuck out of here, you're going to lose your job. That's the reality. If you don't, and maybe she wanted to lose her job, but this wasn't a result of just using enter and getting your job. This was a behavior that in any form is unacceptable for an employer. This is a consequence. Everybody knows this, right? She decides, though, to start calling them enter and telling them how much of a racist she is, playing right into the anti-white narrative. Naturally, they break out their phones to videotape this because there are consequences for behaving as the villain in the anti-white narrative. So she shouldn't have done that. She has, as I understand, 1 to 3 children. I know there's rumor about her first child being non-white. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it is. There are photographs of her with a non-white child when she's younger, earlier in life. Maybe it's hers, maybe it's not. I don't know. But she made the wrong decision and starts now. Why did she think this was a good? Do you think she heard about Shiloh? Do you think maybe there's a couple of things happening here? She's having to put up with anti-whites and white erase norms, which is infuriating to white people. We hate their norms. We despise just as much as they despise ours. What they naturally project into the world is objectionable to us. That's why we don't go live in their countries. We want nothing to do with it. That's why we white flight from them. It's objectionable. And there's nothing wrong with that at all to come to that conclusion. So she's probably on a daily basis at work and having to deal. So it's not even just this incident, is it? Where they're coming in and, as the story goes, they're slandering her for not wearing a hijab and saying she's a whore because she's dressed in accordance with our norms. But it's probably been an ongoing thing. There are probably leers. There are probably, who knows, maybe she's been spat on. Who knows, maybe they disrespect her. I know there was something about they wanted more caramel or something like this. And they probably speak in a very disparaging way. I've seen it myself. I don't get talked to like that because I'm a white man who is robust with a Germanic face, and they can probably conclude that I would throw down, that I'm not quite right. They probably say, no, not that one. Not that one. The other one over there. The one that says I'm a Mexican. Not that one. They probably conclude, but she's a white female. She's little and female, and so they probably intimidate and harass and treat her poorly. And so she finally snapped. Where did she get the idea, though? Why say? I mean, I could imagine that she might shout out "enter" at them, but where did she get the idea that she should say she's a racist? I wonder where that came from. Could it come from these 85 IQ white people online swilling their cheap beer and vodka, saying that the only way to take on anti-whites and anti-whiteism is to be the villain in their story, which has been so fabulously successful? Generation after generation, things have just gotten better and better, haven't they? Is that where I'm going to go ahead and put my money down on that, on her seeing the response to Shiloh, her seeing the response to Lily Gaddis, who is now saying that this is how all white women should behave. It's an easy thing to say when, as a content creator, you make your money off of being salacious and insulting and etc. Others don't get to do that. So Crystal's life now, when it comes to income, has been narrowed to being another Lily Gaddis or an OnlyFans whore or living off of the $1 million that I'm sure she hopes to raise from white people for saying "enter." She's a real class act, though, I've got to tell you, because after calling them "enters," which is, again, something that was ubiquitous in America. You go further back in time, and all white people were saying this, and it somehow didn't stop anti-whiteism, but somehow saying it now is going to defeat anti-whiteism. You let the vegetables run the show, and these are the kind of decisions and recommendations that you get from the vegetables. But after calling them, like, I could see her finally snapping and being like, "F you, enter." I could see that because I've seen white people say that and other things when they get pissed off for my whole life. And so have you. Especially like the older white people, because everybody said it. So I could see that. But then to go on and say that she's a racist, she's the villain in their story, which is going to communicate, as we know in this community, a range of ideas to normal white people that are not going to want to have anything to do with her, that are going to find her insufferable, low-class, white trash mentality. So she says that she's a racist, and then, since she's such a class act, this mother of 1 to 3 or more begins saying to suck it and grabbing a prodigious imaginary penis. So definitely the kind of girl you'd want to bring home to mom. Definitely the kind of girl the white race should put on the dais. We should be celebrating that sort of behavior, that sort of mentality. Not what works, not what's dignified, not what's changing the world, not that which represents our people outside of the anti-white narrative. No. We should head straight to the fucking trailer park and find the grossest, most low IQ, anti-white imitating bitch we can find. And then, as these stories that I read, complaining about the story after story, complaining about the Jews and how they were going to take whores, that the Jews had planned to take whores from the streets, white whores, and then go and sit them in the thrones of our kings, in the thrones of every single church, in the throne of the Pope. The Jews don't need to do it because the white fucking garbage is doing it. You can have white men who are heroes of our race and not a thousandth of a fraction give a shit about their lifelong sacrifice. But you find anywhere you look, and if low IQ, low class white garbage can find something to snigger about online. This is online call. This is the internet, folks. This is the salvation of the white race on the internet. The worst of the worst is what they will celebrate. Whatever makes them laugh. Whatever they find hilarious. And then they'll find reasons that are specious to support whatever just tickles their funny bone. And it's a little tiny funny bone, I can promise you that. So suck it. Suck it, she says. Like one of our absolute best. On What a Champion. She should be made a millionaire. She should be made wildly popular. And I feel for her children. We talked about this when it comes to Shiloh, of course, and there were reasons to be happy and reasons to not be happy. And of course, the internet are too fucking dumb to be able to parse the two. It's just, do you endorse the degeneracy or not? That's the internet for you, the low IQ scum on the internet. Do you endorse the degeneracy or not? So we parsed it out. It's a magnificent thing that when white people hear about a white woman who has an altercation, verbal altercation with anti-whites, who gets fired as a consequence of it, that white people automatically side with the white woman. That's magnificent. That they immediately say, well, how can I support her? That's one of the positives out of this. Another positive is that these children, and I think maybe they're all white, maybe most of them are white, whatever they are. I don't know where the father is. There's conflicting stories. Is she divorced and doing these kind of thirst trap videos? I mean, I've seen a bunch of things. I've seen an account of hers where she gave her pronouns. I've seen an account that is said to be hers where there are Biden signs in the yard and hate has no home here kind of signs in the, I don't know. But the children are, at least a couple of them are white. And I would like to see them taken care of and protected, insulated from anti-whiteism, but also the anti-whiteism of the mother, if she has any anti-whiteism. And the father, where's the father? I don't know. Maybe he's there. Maybe she's not a single mother. Maybe there isn't a divorce there. But of course, I want to see the white children safe. This is not what should be backstopped. This kind of behavior in the white male population, and here I'm talking about the white males, the white boys out there. I'm not talking, there are going to be a ton of scum in the non-white races that are going to endorse this. And if that seems confusing to you at all, it's because you don't understand the reason. And what's at the heart of this and the endorsement for so many is that it's hilarious. They love it. It also at the heart of this is this like gamer mentality of being removed from the action. Removed from the action and being able to celebrate it or decry it in this once or twice or more removed from what's happening. That's why they end up concluding having no feeling for the safety of the white woman. As I said with Shiloh, the white guy in this woman's life should be furious. She shouldn't be putting her and the children in danger by going to this tightly knit, psychotic anti-white community. You don't like it? Sure, I agree. You don't like having to deal with them? 100%. You're going to have to move. Obviously. You're going to have to take up the Go Free dialogic to change the world so you won't have to keep fleeing. I wouldn't want to deal with them either. But I could tell you this, things would have gone a lot better for Crystal had she been empowered with the Go Free dialogic. Wouldn't be fired today. She'd still have her job. Not only that, but the garbage anti-white blacks who filmed her wouldn't post that anywhere. Because if Crystal had said, "Fuck you, you anti-white garbage. I don't have to put up with your disrespect. I don't have to put up with your attacks. You're attacking me because you're anti-whites. You hate me for my race. You hate me because we have our own norms, and you hate our norms." They wouldn't post that anywhere. So it is likely that she erupted saying, calling them Nners and declaring that she's a racist because she's on the internet and she's reading the recommendations of the garbage. She's seeing what gets celebrated by so much of the garbage. If she had been in this community, she'd still have a job. Her children would be getting inoculated against anti-whiteism. If her husband and the father of the children is still present and in their lives, she could bring him over to white well-being. Imagine that environment instead. Imagine becoming a noble, magnificent advocate and warrior for white well-being and having this encounter and the encounter playing it out. What do you think would happen to me if I was working at the Cinnabon and I responded? You damn well know that I would be able to put them in their place and burn them down and protect my employment. I've done it before. Others in this community have done it. Complained about anti-whiteism. But this is the internet, so it's great. It's great that this white woman put herself and potentially moving forward her children in danger. It's great that she narrowed her employment prospects to being a whore on OnlyFans or another Lily Gaddis, which I don't know how many Lily Gaddises the market will sustain. It's great that she did that. It's great that she got herself fired. It's great that she is not going to be able to find employment again. All of that's great because the internet says so. You can't, if you disagree, these grugs will crawl out and tell you how you're a Jew or a Fed or you care about the white race, then you're not really fighting the pro-white fight. It's great. It's wonderful. This outcome is wonderful. So let's see. Now, a GoFundMe, a Gibson Go, of course, was started immediately. And she'll get a bunch of money. It won't last as long as she'll need the rest of her income for the rest of her life. Let's hope that if the husband is still involved in the family, that he doesn't somehow end up losing his job as well. I could see anti-whites doing that. You have this guy employed whose wife acts like this. I hope that doesn't happen. But you know what? For the grugs, for the anti-non-whites, they'll love if he gets fired. They will love it. That'll give them another reason to argue that you should be saying enter and everything else on the internet. That'll be just another reason. And from their anonymity, from their once or two times or three times removed as little gamers, and put it, pardon the fact that I'm a man of the West. I never want to see our females in any sort of conflict. I want to put them behind me because I'm a man. Now I get it. You're a fucking little ugly pussy. I get that that's your problem. And it's exciting and funny to see a white female endanger herself this way. But you're garbage and I'm a man. I am what we're supposed to look like. I am what we are going to have to look like to recapture our destiny. So if somebody came to me with a story and they said, oh, well, this white woman, she ended up cornered of no doing of her own. And she ended up pulling out a firearm and having to shoot this guy, this anti-white, dead. I would say, thank God she's safe. Thank God. Now we've got to find a situation where she's not going to be ever again in harm's way. Ever again. Because that's how a man thinks. I don't say, yeah, the girl warrior. I mean, this race is fucked. Jesus. Unreal. Now, of course, you can also imagine on the internet, people are going to be from other countries. I mean, if I were the Chinese, if I were the Russians, if I were the Venezuelans, I would be paying for bots to encourage this kind of behavior because the white race ain't never crawling out of this shit. Ever. With that being the recommendation of how to behave. With that being the articulation of how we recapture our destiny. Ever. Wisconsin Cinnabon employee was fired from her job after she was seen in an alleged racist, of course, this is the anti-whites, dispute with 2 Somali customers. You know what would have been great is if these 70 IQ anti-white scum, if she had been going free and called them anti-white and attacked them on that basis, and those idiots had uploaded it, wow, that would be magnificent. There would be none of these articles. There would absolutely be none of these articles. But that would be magnificently powerful. Dispute with 2 Somali customers, 2 anti-white. Crystal Wilsey, 43, was quickly dubbed a Karen, which is an anti-white slur. By the way, the anti-white garbage in the video refer to her with the anti-white slur Karen. And you look across the internet, and none of these so-called pro-white people, which are really just anti-non-white, none of them are mentioning that they call her this anti-white slur. None of them are like, well, but they called her this anti-white slur. Because they don't care. They don't care about white people. They care about a behavior that will make them chuckle. Viral video showed her in a heated argument with 2 customers at Bay Park Square Mall in Ashwaubenon, about 10 minutes outside of Green Bay. That's probably an American Indian word, which we left in place. And this is our thanks. But look at how so many of American Indians that are anti-white American Indians. Not all of them. There's an American Indian in this community. But look at the anti-white ones. We left their names everywhere out of respect for them after stomping the living shit out of their braves, out of their warriors. We absolutely kick the shit out of every American Indian and otherwise brown and red tribe there was. And then we left their names everywhere. Fuck all that. This is the thanks we get. Fuck your names. If I were put in charge, all that shit would get red erased. Because I am very cognizant of the endless attacks, the zero thanks. Thank you for being so honorable to my people, white man. I had not heard that from them. Thank you for keeping the names, everything that we named in place. No other, that doesn't happen with any other conquest. They destroy everything. This is the thanks we get. Unidentified customer. You know what needs to happen is the names of the unidentified customers need to be public. That's what needs to happen. I mean, if Crystal Wilsey's name is going to be out there, including her maiden name, if that's all going to be out there, then these people's names should. If her arrest and child endangerment ×3 is going to be on the internet now for everyone to see, I would like to see their arrests. Are they even legally in the country? How many programs are they on that they are illegally on, per all the news we're reading? Osmond said her cousin and her husband, who she described as a black Somali Muslim couple, were shopping at the mall that day when they decided to stop by the popular bakery chain for a treat. Build your own chain. Build your own. Not with our tax dollars. Not with a business startup grants and loans that'll be forgiven later from the taxpayer. So that Republicans can come forward and say, look at the new Americans, Jason. You were born here and you don't own any businesses. They're more American than you. But when they walked into the business, the husband and wife, quote, could tell the atmosphere was not welcoming. This is such anti-white narrative bullshit. This is every TV show you've ever watched. The happy-go-lucky non-white couple, they're like, hey, baby, we're just building memories in small-town America. Let's just go into this little eatery. And what? They are spitting at us and yelling "enter" as we walk in the door. My God, where is my smelling sauce and my fainting settee? Go to hell. Tensions grew increasingly high after her cousin requested Wilsey add more caramel to her pecan cinnamon roll. It's kind of funny, though. That's kind of funny. Like the battle is taking place over the cinnamon roll, the pecan cinnamon roll, and whether or not there's enough caramel. Her cousin then noticed that the caramel was running low and asked Wilsey if she had any more before the worker appeared to grow frustrated and hurled several racial... I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that's a employment ending day unless she wanted to quit working, unless that was the intent. So she started hurling the racial epithet. Sure. She was like, pardon me, madam, could I have some more caramel? Enter, whatever. According to a fundraising page for Wilsey, the worker was being harassed by the Somalians during her shift. So that sounds much more believable. During her shift, which caused the outbursts on camera. It's unclear what occurred between the three people before the recording begins. So there she is. Bring her home to mom. Suck it. Okay, so, and she calls them bitch, ass, NIGG, and one more letter. So that's straight from the internet too. So she's using the Fuentesian verbiage from their community. That's interesting. I mean, where else do you hear this black slang for the word enter? Why would white people ever say that? Bitch ass she says, I am racist, and you are a enter. Wilsey, dressed in a gray sweatshirt with her long hair down, told the pair. The man then told her, you are an idiot. She says, quote, I am a racist, and I'll say that to the whole entire world. Who put such a thought in her head? Who made her think that this was a wise course of action? She said before pointing her finger at the husband and wife and adding, don't be disrespectful. You're ruining your life, by the way, Osmond's cousin told Wilsey. Bye, Wilsey said with a smile. She then raised both her middle fingers in front of her face as she stared directly at the camera. You talk about respect, you are fired from this place, mother effer. You're not going to be working here, the husband told her before Wilsey made a vulgar display. She crossed her arms and motioned toward the lower half of her body and told the couple to suck it. That's how you take back the West. I mean, yeah, let's just go ahead and that's how you do it. That's how you take it back. That is how you do it. It's going to make that recommendation coming from Lily Gaddis will continue to make her more popular and more money, and it will get normal white people fired, but she doesn't care about them. I care about them, unfortunately. Unlike so many of these content creators out there and organization leaders, I care about them. I don't want them fired. I don't want them harassed. I don't want them their lives ruined. But I guess that makes me not a pro-white enough, because all of these people's lives have to be ruined, Jason, for good things to happen. How does that connect? Where does the connect? Can you explain the machinery to it? No, you can't explain the machinery to it. You can't tell me how it goes from A to Z, but just magically their lives getting ruined makes things better for the rest of us. At least as long as you are laughing into your cheap ass beer in your half broken ass lawn chair, sitting in your filthy yard that you don't even own. You're just allowed to keep the camper there. What the F is wrong with you, you effing ugly bitch? Get the F out of my face. Wilsey replied as she continued to flip off the customers. The man asked her, talking about ugliness before Wills. Now, what I want to know is, there's all this science about the average IQ of a Somali, and supposedly really low. And yet the Somalis understand anti-whiteism. They understand how to use and employ it to get what they want. But the white people that I and we are talking to, on the internet at least, they don't understand anti-whiteism. They don't understand how to undermine. So which population is actually smarter? The Somalians. The Somalians are clearly smarter than all these white losers. They're able to arrive, immediately understand this anti-white narrative, and then employ it. The guy's like, I know exactly how this will get you fired. And then you have all of these white people that are like, yeah, do more of what gets you fired. So clearly the Somalians are smarter than these white people. I got to tell you, I can't get fed up enough fighting for our race for decades with something that works, that's tangible, demonstrable, and destined for absolute oblivion, destined to be unknown to the world, because the white race doesn't want to do what works. So many of them. They don't want to employ what works, especially here on the internet. I would have a more intelligent audience if it were Somalis. Keep squeezing that camera, bitch. Or caramel, bitch, he shouted at her before Wilsey turned around and showed off her backside to the customer. And what does that mean? Did she moon him or just turned around? Following the intense moment, Cinnabon decided to terminate Wilsey. Shocked. This is not a cancel culture moment. And furthermore, using their terminology, legitimizing their ideology. Idiot white people. Idiots. It is not a cancel culture. She would have been fired from anywhere. Take the N word out of it. She's fired. Fired 100 times over. No manager, no employer is going to tolerate behavior like that, no matter how the customer is behaving. You are just not able to say, suck it, and everything else that she said, even taking out enter. For the love of God. Following the intense moment, they fired her ass. Of course, Cinnabon says it in no way reflects their values, the values of anti-whiteism. Well, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we recommend to the entire white race that they get jobs at Cinnabon, and then every day they say enter and the K word for Jews and everything else until they are swiftly fired, because that will change the culture. That will change the culture at Cinnabon. Yeah, the culture will become more of not hiring white people, because when they show up, they say this ignorant shit. We'll get employees that will put up with the misbehaving customers, the disrespectful customers.